Eileen Giles and Paddy Powell are identical twins who went to school at Stella Maris College in Geraldton. Their Year 11 teacher was Sister Monica Maddox, and in the late 1980s she rang the girls and asked them whether they would be involved in a Thai exchange program where students from Thailand came to learn English for 6 weeks and stayed with the families and friends of Paddy and Eileen. In 1994, the girls and their family went back to Thailand to visit the students and to also meet the family of their future sister-in-law. While in Thailand, they asked a local priest where they could buy a statue of Our Lady of Lourdes because that was the parish that they came from. He directed them to go to the St. Vincent de Paul mission office in Bangkok. There they found a statue like they'd never seen before. It had a beautiful face and a shimmering garment. Paddy already had a statue of the Sacred Heart, so when the statue came back to Australia, it was placed on a table next to the Sacred Heart statue. On March the 19th, 2002, Paddy came home from work at Colby Catholic College. She went into the room where the statues were and was sitting in a chair in the corner. As she looked over, she saw that there was 2 shiny streaks coming down the cheeks of Our Lady. She got up and went over to the statue to have a closer look. When she got there, Our Lady was in fact weeping. Paddy started to weep herself. She likened it to her mum weeping and asked Our Lady, "What can I do to help you?" Paddy's parish priest, Father Walsh, was sick, so she told the assistant priest, and he said that it was private revelation and that it would stop, and it did the next day. 10 days later, on Good Friday, the statue started to weep again and wept until Easter Monday. Paddy again told the assistant priest, and he said again that it would stop and not to worry about it. The tears were a yellow oil and had the most amazing perfume. The statue next wept on the feast day of Corpus Christi, but this time it wept for longer. On August the 14th, the feast day of St. Maximilian Kolbe, Paddy came home from her work, and as she entered the front door, she was struck by the most amazing perfume. She ran to where the statues were, and Our Lady was again weeping. On contemplation, she decided to take the statue down to Father Walsh, as he was now back in the parish. They sat in his kitchen, and Father Walsh said, "Tomorrow is the feast day of the Assumption. We will place the statue on a little table next to the altar." Father Walsh explained to people after Mass why the statue was there, and that it was indeed weeping. Paddy took the statue down to the parish on a Friday, Saturday and Sunday, so that people could come and witness what was happening. The crowd started to build as word spread about this amazing event. The Record, which is the Catholic newspaper in Western Australia, contacted Father Walsh 3 weeks later and contacted Paddy and asked whether they could do an article about this event. The reporters got in touch with the Archbishop to gain his permission to print the article. He happened to be on retreat in the Rockingham area and told them that he would go and witness for himself. When the Archbishop entered Paddy's home, he was immediately struck with a beautiful perfume. He made his way down to the shrine with Paddy and a few others.
I went to scoff and remained to pray. And in fact I did. I went down on my knees with the others and we said a prayer.
The Archbishop gave the Record the approval to print the article, and it was in the paper the next weekend. The secular newspapers have the Record delivered on a Thursday, so they were quick off the mark trying to get an interview. Word spread worldwide, and agencies all over the world were asking for interviews. The TV channels all wanted to do stories, and Channel 7 Today Tonight wanted to do a feature. They asked whether they could actually send the oil to be tested and the statue to be examined. Everything was run past Father Walsh and he agreed that this was okay. So oil was collected by one of the reporters and documented and sealed. The oil was taken to Murdoch University where it was examined. Eiling and a reporter took the statue to Curtin University where it was x-rayed, and then a scientist examined the eyes under a microscope which was magnified 40 times.
Is it real or a fake? To find out, Today Tonight commissioned a series of tests at 2 universities. The first test, a chemical analysis of the Madonna's tears.
And very quickly we realised it was vegetable oil type thing, and almost certainly olive oil.
Researcher Doug Clark used infrared radiation to examine the fluid's composition. In a nutshell, he believes it's oil, with an added fragrance, probably rose oil. And although the statue's supposedly 80 years old, he says the oil is quite fresh.
So it's unusual that an oil would sit somewhere exposed to the air for 8 years and not be rancid or not take on a deeper colour. That makes me suspect that the oil is not too old.
Mr Clark believed a reasonable explanation was there may be a cavity or reservoir of oil inside the statue.
Eventually it would just come out through any area which was permeable to that oil.
You actually see the eyes, those the facial features here. This goes right up to the vertex and then where does it go?
Rob Hart from Curtin University's Medical Imaging Department took x-rays to see if there was an unusual structure inside the fiberglass statue.
That could be some kind of channel, but it's not definitive that it's not just part of the construction of the statue.
Is there anything to suggest there's some sort of fluid inside that channel?
No, there isn't at this stage. Just look here. This is the sort of sign we're looking for. This is how a fluid level will appear in a real patient, and so we're looking for an equivalent horizontal line somewhere inside this structure, and we don't see that feature.
The x-rays revealed an area at the bottom of the statue that appears like a sponge, which might be the source of the tears.
It's just a porous structure that could conceivably hold some kind of fluid. We haven't demonstrated that it does, and it could just be part of the normal construction of the statue.
Coming from, it doesn't look like there are physical holes inside.
Next test was by biomedical scientist Gary Whittaker, who used a powerful microscope to check for holes that could be releasing the tears.
We actually looked at it at 40 times its normal size, scanned over the eyes, particularly at the corner of the eyes on either eye, just to make sure it wasn't coming from the corners. But we could actually see pooling, and it was actually pooling as we were looking at it. So it's very, very intriguing.
The scientist asked Eiling 4 times whether he could wipe the eyes, and 4 times the eyes welled up with tears. He was so amazed that he called Eiling and the reporter over to have a look. They were all so surprised because they could actually see the pooling in the tear ducts. Eiling then took the statue and picked Paddy up, and they went to a friend's place. The statue's face was quite dry because the scientist had wiped it clean. As they placed the statue on her little coffee table in her lounge room, the statue started to flow with tears down her face. Their friend was so excited that she ran to the other villas and told them to come and have a look. Everybody present knelt and prayed a rosary. The statue was then taken home, where on the weekends it was taken up to Our Lady of Lourdes Church. In November of 2002, the Archbishop announced that he was going to form a commission.
I've never known anything to occur like this that has lasted for 8 or 9 weeks already. And because it lasts so long, for the sake of the people, I have to investigate it. I don't know of anything else in Australia like this.
In the middle of December of 2002, the statue was given to the head of the commission. Over the next 4 days, it was subjected to a range of tests and then given back to Paddy. In January of 2003, Paddy met with the commission. The head of the commission actually commented that his room still smelt of the perfume. In February of 2003, the Archbishop released his findings.
Acting on the scientific findings, Archbishop Hickey makes an announcement on behalf of the Catholic Church.
Our commission has handed me its findings, and in their view, the strict criteria that the Church requires for a miracle hasn't been met in this case, and therefore I can't proclaim it a miracle. Well, the scientific analysis was very thorough. They investigated the internal space of the statue and found no hidden channels, no possible areas for fake or fraud in the statue itself. There was no way in which liquid could be released from the statue. Externally, it had no cavities, and so the statue had not been tampered with in any structural way. They analysed the oil, and there they came up with a little bit of a problem. The oil, they concluded from their investigations, appeared to be a mixture of two oils. And so they thought, well, this might be of divine origin, but it could also be of human origin, and therefore they sounded a note of caution. I hope that people would understand that their great devotion to Mary, their love for her, their belief in the power of prayer is still exactly the same. And those who claim healings and conversions are simply pointing to the power of prayer, not necessarily to the fact that the statue is weeping. Now that the investigation has been concluded, I have to say, for the good of the faithful, that it is to be returned and has been returned to its owner, and there it will stay, not for public veneration in our churches, but in the private house where it belongs.
On February the 17th, 2003, the statue was taken for the last time from the church. It was placed in an altar in Paddy's home, which was later to become the Holy Family House of Prayer. People stepped up and came to serve. A prayer group was formed called the Servants of the Little Way, and Paddy opened her home 3 days a week. Pilgrims still come to this day